Okay, so the next part of your notes on 38 is climate. Okay, now climate is a little bit different. It has to deal with averaging of rainfall or averaging of precipitation or temperature or things like that in a larger area. So where weather is more specifically in a small place or a specific place in a specific time, climate is more like a larger area over a long period of time. So it takes a long period of time for climate to actually establish itself. For example, Texas is known for its hot summers. And the reason that it's known for hot summers is because over a very long period of time, Texas has experienced hot summers. So during the summer, we could say that Texas has a climate of really hot weather and not as much rain because over time, meteorologists and scientists have gotten together to study the weather patterns of Texas during that time and have established a specific climate. And so usually it takes years and years and years, usually, more than 10 years and to establish an actual climate. Okay? So to begin, climate is just the average weather conditions over a long period of time in a particular region. So that means there's different regions throughout the world. There's a temperate region, a tropical region, polar region, and those regions have specific climates because of the fact that over a long period of time, scientists have studied the weather patterns for that area and have established basically a climate for it. For example, in the polar regions, you're going to experience colder temperatures and maybe more precipitation or more wind speed than normal, or what we're used to. So in terms of climate, that's what it is. That it's focusing on a certain region, which is a larger area than Fort Worth, and it takes the average weather patterns of that region to create this climate. So some things to remember is that patterns are analyzed over many years. And I'm going to capitalize many to emphasize that it's a long period of time. And that it usually describes a larger area, okay? And the different biomes, there's for example, like like I was talking about, there's different regions. They're called biomes, and we're going to get to that in just a second, but first I want to make sure that there's a way that I remember climate, and these are good test taking strategies that I want you to use. You should be using these on your test or on your CFAs or any assignment, so please try your best to remember these because they will help you. So with the L, I write the word long, and with the T, I write the word time, because what that tells me is climate takes a long time. Okay? It takes a long time to establish. One bullet point I forgot to say is that it occurs over a long period of time. Okay. The biomes for the climates. So for climate, Here are your different biomes. We have grassland, tundra, tropical rainforest, desert, deciduous, forest. Okay, that's just like a regular forest with a bunch of trees and forest animals. And there are more, but those are the main ones that we will come into contact with at some point, just either through traveling or through research or things like that. And one specific detail that I want you to remember is that you know, when we talked about the North Pole and the South, or I'm sorry, when we talked about the poles, we talked about how cold they are because they don't get enough sunlight. So just make sure that when you are talking about in terms of where on the globe these regions are, notice how their placement really affects their climate. So for example, North and South Pole are going to have, they're going to have colder climates, okay? Or any area really that, sorry, forgot to write poles. Any area that is closest to the North or South Pole, for example, Antarctica, Russia, Greenland, Canada, any of those countries that are closer to the North Pole, they're going to receive a colder climate because of how close to the pole they are. So I'm just going to write colder climates for North and South Poles. But it's not just the poles, it's the areas around them. So the closer you get to the poles, the colder you will get. And the closer you get to the equator, okay, remember the equator is in the middle of the earth, you're going to get warmer climates, okay? So the closer you are, for example, if you ever like to travel with your parents to, you know, any kind of island or something that's closer to the equator, you will experience warmer temperatures because that's a warmer climate. It's going to experience, you know, warmer temperatures, maybe more precipitation depending on where the area you are at. So they're going to have warmer climates compared to areas that are getting closer to the poles. And everything in between, like what we are in the United States, we are in between the North Pole and the equator. So we have this very mild climate where we experience cold temperatures, but we also do experience warm temperatures. And it's just a cycle where we experience cold temperatures and then warm and then cold and then warm all year long. Okay, so make sure that you have all the notes down, and I hope that you do your best to stay on task today for the substitute, okay? Have a good day.